Hello, welcome to The Exhausted Researcher. My name is TJ, and I'm your exhausted researcher. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, a subject that is highly debated upon in the research and paranormal community. We're going to talk about the OP cryptid, the one that seems to have started this all, the humble but very fascinating ghost. I want to preface this by saying that yes, I do believe in the supernatural. I grew up with the supernatural. I believe that there are things and beings out there that we have not fully discovered or classified yet. However, don't forget, a couple hundred years ago, a science was witchcraft. What we call supernatural, a ghost, a cryptid, and the such, could very well be something very benign and unremarkable years down the road. I'm not saying that science is unremarkable. I'm just saying that it's not a sideshow any longer. It's treated with more respect and dignity now. But along with that respect and dignity comes a certain level of monotony and boredom. Today, ghosts and ghouls and the unexplained excite me and many others. But they could just be part of regular life for my great-great-great-grandchildren. Another subject in school to make them groan and hate adults for making them learn. We've already proven that some cryptids are real. The coelacanth was a monster fish from legend, until it was caught by a fisherman and proven just to be a prehistoric fish. Not a monster in the water. The same thing happened with the giant octopus. It's believed that they are the basis of the Kraken legend. Even the now very mundane, though rare, oarfish was once believed to be a dragon. The existence of ghosts does not seem to be outside of the realm of possibility in any way, shape, or form. I want to start this with the very definition of a ghost. There's more than one out there. Merriam-Webster, a very respected dictionary, defines a ghost in multiple ways. The definition that most people ascribe to is the soul of a dead person believed to be an inhabitant of the unseen world or to appear to the living in bodily likeness. However, across the internet, what a ghost actually is highly debated. A ghost can be everything from the soul of a loved one to a remnant, an unintelligent memory playing out over and over again. Something you can't communicate with but may very well see through specialized equipment or out of the corner of your eye. Some more religious groups, including the one I grew up in, see ghosts as nothing but demons. In the religion I grew up with, Christianity, when a body dies, the soul leaves this world and goes elsewhere. There's no sticking around, no haunting your loved ones. You have moved on for better or for worse. So any ghost, any likeness that you see of a loved one is a demon using that form to prey on you for some reason or another. However, it's never good. In modern culture and media, ghosts can also be referred to as a revenant. This is still the soul of a loved one, but it's gone bad. It's rotted and decayed. That's not in a physical way, though the apparition might show physical rot and decay. It's mental. These apparitions, like demons, mean to cause harm. They are no longer your loved one. They are a force to be reckoned with, and you really don't want to start that battle. I'm not going to bring my personal definition of a ghost into this. I've already admitted that I believe in them in some form, and what the religion of my youth believes. You can draw from that what you will. I do believe that some sort of a ghost exists, but I do not believe that the majority of hauntings nowadays are actually ghost or supernatural in any way. However, that's drama that I don't want to get into. Let's move on to the etymology of the word ghost. This interests me because it gives us a base point of when ghost first entered the vernacular of language and when the first ghost sighting may have happened. The oldest use of any form of the word ghost seems to be contested. There are reports that say that the earliest usage of the word ghost is the ancient Greek word eidolon. My mispronunciations are going to be strong in this part of the video and moving forward. Please excuse me for this. This word is believed to have been used around 500 BCE, around 2,500 years ago. However, it is also reported that the word ghost appears to have roots in the Scottish word bogle. This word's etymology dates back to 1500 BCE, 3,500 years ago. But even further back still, a ghost, though the word may not have been used, was reportedly present in an ancient Mesopotamian text, notably a poem called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which was written in 2100 BCE. That's over 4,000 years ago. Let's just try to take that in. The amount of time that really is. The amount of history that has happened since then. Just take a moment, a deep breath. I'll wait with you. 4,000 years. Okay, let's talk about English. Obviously, that's my native language. The word ghost in the English language appeared during the time of Old English, which is between the 5th and 11th century AD. So, with very rough estimates, between 900 and 1500 years ago. Any way you look at it, the word ghost is very old. This is not a new concept, and as I have learned my entire life, every story or fairy tale has a basis in fact. Ghosts might not seem like a fairy tale, but fairy tales are legends, and ghosts do fall into the definition of legend. So let's move on to official depictions of ghosts. Official depictions of ghosts are also extremely old. It is believed that the oldest visual depiction of a ghost exists on an ancient Babylonian tablet that is housed at the British Museum. This tablet is believed to date back to 1500 BCE. This date just blows my mind because of how old this physical relic is, and it still exists. It hasn't just crumbled to dust. We can't build a road to last through winter, but ancient Babylonians were etching tablets that last 3,500 years? Moving on. This tablet fascinates me, and it's not just because of what it shows. It is believed to show a tied-up ghost being led back to the afterlife. However, they do only have half the tablet, so they don't know what happens after that. However, it also includes detailed instructions on how to rid yourself of a ghost, specifically a bothersome old man ghost. But what truly fascinates me about this tablet is that it is etched in a way that it cannot be viewed from just any angle. You have to look at it from a specific angle and a specific lighting to see the etching. Otherwise, it just looks like a blank piece of earth with some text at the bottom. Seriously, how was this done? Sure, today we have special inks that allow a type of this magic, but this is 3,500 years old. It makes me wonder just how technologically advanced those cultures could have been, and just how we lost that over time. But that's another subject for another day. This is far from the only official depiction of a ghost. If you know anything about ancient Egyptians, they are known to be fascinated with the underworld and ghosts. They have their own ghost stories, and what I find interesting is that encounters with ghosts were not considered very supernatural to the ancient Egyptians, especially not compared to nowadays. I guess that makes sense in a culture where you literally have physical embodiments of your gods. If you had to choose between seeing and speaking to a god as being supernatural and seeing the ghost of someone whose tomb had fallen to ruin, which one would be more impactful? However, I could talk about ancient Egyptians all day, so we're going to move on before I go off on a tangent that I cannot recover from. We've talked about the ancient Babylonians and the ancient Egyptians, so what about the ancient Aztecs? This is another ancient culture with their own beliefs, and yes, those beliefs include ghosts. They have a rather well-known type of ghost. It is not benevolent. Some would call them downright evil. I have no idea how to say their name. You'll see it on screen right now. Once again, this type of ghost is not friendly in any way. This ghost is the ghost of a woman who passed away during childbirth. Now, this type of ghost is very common up into this day and age. However, what these ghosts do is not very common. These ghosts are a menace. During 5 specific days of the Aztec calendar, they descend upon the earth and haunt crossroads. Crossroads being haunted is also very common. These ghosts would do this hoping to steal children that they hadn't been able to have themselves in their own life. Keep in mind that this is a very condensed version of their legend. There's so much more to it than this. Okay, so maybe you're sitting there thinking all of this ancient ghost talk is superfluous. These people were simple-minded. They didn't know better. They were easily influenced by hysteria and legend. So what about more modern-day ghosts? More modern official depictions? Those exist too. Let's look at ghosts in holy text. I'm going to start with the Christian Bible because that's what I'm most knowledgeable about. This holy text does have allusions to ghosts in it. Ghosts are touched upon in these scriptures, but they are never described as the spirit of loved ones. They are fallen angels trying to deceive us. The Bible warns us to fight against these spirits and not engage in demonic activities that could draw them to us. The belief that a ghost is the spirit of a departed loved one does not exist in this religion. But a ghost, deceiver or not, does. There is another text in Christianity called the Book of Enoch. Now, it's highly contested whether this is a religious text or a fanciful story. This is a text that I had little to no contact with, so this all comes from research. The Book of Enoch does not mention ghosts as in the souls of lost loved ones wandering the earth, from what I can find. This misconception was popularized by a couple of mega preachers. They said that the Book of Enoch claimed that the souls of Nephilim, who were technically part human and thus loved ones, were chained to the earth when the Great Flood happened. However, this is not truly what the text says. First off, and most importantly, Nephilim don't have souls. They are seen as nothing more than animals to the Christian God. This misconception most likely came from the mention of the souls of the fallen angels who participated in the creation of the Nephilim being taken during the Great Flood. However, they were not chained to the earth. They were chained to Tartarus. What the Book of Enoch actually says about the souls of humans is that Enoch visited the place where they reside, awaiting judgment. This is not on earth. It is described as a mountain with 4 hollows or valleys. 3 of these valleys are dark. They are the pits of confinement for the human souls who are not righteous. My personal understanding is that these souls would go to hell once judged. The 4th valley is filled with light and reserved for the righteous. These human souls would go to heaven on the final judgment day. So yes, there are ghosts, but they are not on earth. They are not haunting their loved ones. They are in a type of purgatory. Okay, let's move on to the Quran. I have to admit, I have no previous knowledge in this religion. I have no previous knowledge in their belief of ghosts and what they could be. This, as well as all the religions moving forward, have been found through research. What I found is that both the Quran and the Hadith make references to ghosts. However, this is not in the traditional sense of a ghost either. It is in the sense of witchcraft and evil, and most specifically, the supernatural beings known as jinn. This is the origin of the English word genie, but don't get them confused, they are not the same thing. My knowledge of the jinn has always been evil. They are invisible creatures that can enter and possess people. They cause various maladies and are used as an explanation for evil and illness. However, there seems to be two types of jinn. I didn't know this before delving deeper into research on the subject. These are believers or disbelievers. They are neither innately evil or good. It seems that some jinn are called upon for magical protection and aid, while others are guarded against. In the past, there was a more ambivalent attitude towards jinn, but in the present day, they are seen as mostly evil and associated with idolatry. Like in the Christian Bible, jinn are not the spirits of passed on loved ones, but they are a ghost-like entity. The Vedas, the 4 religious texts of Hinduism, also have allusions to ghosts. However, as is a theme with religious texts, they are not the spirits of passed on loved ones. There seems to be 2 different definitions or views on ghosts in these texts. One seems to be closer to a poltergeist. This is described as a breathing dead body. Unclean people or people with irregular habits. Being clean or unclean in Hinduism is not something I have fully grasped yet. I know it's very important, but it's not something specifically to do with ghosts, so it's a topic for another time. However, these ghosts can take advantage of this unclean state of existence. They can cause disturbances for neighbors and disappear into the bodies of others. The second ghost in the Vedas are actually bhutas. These beings are not ghosts. They are wrongly referred to as ghosts. They are described in a couple conflicting ways. They are described as spirits of Hindu deities, animals, and deified heroes. But they are also described as evil beings, fierce beings, and demons. They are said to be benevolent and protective, but can also be harmful in their violent forms. The difference seems to be whether or not they are pacified through worship and offerings. So, they seem more like a god than a ghost. But once again, there is not a belief in ghosts as the souls of deceased loved ones in these religious texts. So, does any religious text believe in ghosts as the souls of deceased loved ones? This answer took some work. The Tripitaka, Buddhist religious text, does have a term that refers to ghosts as deceased relatives. This is another text and religion I know nothing about, so please excuse me if I get things wrong. However, this term, peta, is also defined in a later Buddhist text called the Petavatu as a hungry ghost. This ghost is very interesting to me because they aren't, in all technicality, ghosts. They're reincarnations, but they are souls that committed immoral or unwholesome acts that are reincarnated as a ghost. They don't get another life. My knowledge of reincarnation is very limited. I vaguely remember that a person is reincarnated according to how they lived their past life. If they were a good person, they were reincarnated into a good life. If they were a bad person, they were reincarnated into a bad life. The story that I barely remember had a person reincarnated as a frog. I didn't know that this punishment, a hungry ghost, being reincarnated with a large stomach, a long neck, and a tiny mouth, was an option. Now, I just barely scratched the surface with these religious texts and their allusions to ghosts and spirits and what it really means. If I read bad information or understood something incorrectly, please correct me. I want to learn. The fact that there are mentions of some sort of spirit or ghost or entity in every one of these texts is fascinating. How could a person be dead set in saying no type of supernatural entity exists when there's reports of them from 3,500 years ago in all corners of the world? I just don't understand. However, let's move on to modern day. Ghosts are a trending subject in our modern day world. There are a huge amount of shows and investigations and contests and experiments trying to prove the existence of these incorporeal beings. The very subject can ignite both an intellectual discussion and an internet brawl. It's amazing how many different beliefs that still exist. There have been ghost hunting shows for a very long time. Ghost Hunters, the oldest ghost hunting show that I can bring to mind, started in 2004, some 20 years ago. Ghost hunting shows haven't lost a beat since then. Our society is fascinated by something that many people don't believe exists in any way. There have been multiple studies investigating the populace's belief in the paranormal and ghosts. There seems to be three sides: believers, skeptics, and undecided. In a study from 2021, 4 in 10 Americans professed a belief in ghosts. I feel this is telling. Ghosts in modern day have infiltrated nearly every part of our modern media. You don't have to watch a horror movie to see a ghost anymore. There are even helpful ghosts in sapping romances, cartoons, and heart-racing action films. Here on YouTube, there are channels dedicated to hauntings in their own home and ghost investigations in famous locations. I alluded to my feelings on these channels earlier, but that doesn't stop their existence or their popularity. On the flip side, there are channels dedicated to showing the false, the fake, and the downright deceiving. Everyone is trying to prove the existence or non-existence of ghosts in their own way. Ghost stories are no longer campfire legends and sleepover pranks. They are a part of everyday life. They have been a part of everyday life for thousands of years. The brief history that I outlined here is barely the start. I didn't even touch on the legends of Asia or the intricate relationship with ghosts of the Native Americans. There is so much more to learn from this subject. There's so much to just think about and try to make logic out of. So, what are your feelings? Did any of these dates surprise you? Did I get something wrong about your religion? Do you believe in ghosts or spirits or demons? This decision is a very personal one, but one that matters for the future. We may very well discover the truth behind ghosts in the coming years. There may be a scientific breakthrough that proves or disproves them for good. But for now, all we can do is take the facts and form our own conclusions from them. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this brief history of ghosts, and I'll see you in the next one.